Hi guys and welcome to this Kings of War Armada battle report. So it's a bit of solo play, we're still in lockdown in the UK, but I do hope you enjoy it anyway. We're playing 4 turns of Maritime Patrol at 150 points and it's going to be the Orcs versus Basileans. Army listed to follow and then we'll get straight into the game. Enjoy. And there we are, set up for Maritime Patrol. So we've got Basileans down this side, got the Abbas with Katrina on it, flanked by a Panther, Bombo at the back, and a low high at the front. Facing off them, got 2 Hammerfists at the side, both the Orcs in, the Bloodrunner, another Bombo, and a Hammerfist to the flank. So before we roll for the wind, the captain upgrade on the Abbas, Katrina von Spectra, allows the Abbas to make 1 free move step before the wind is rolled for, which we'll do by moving the Abbas forward. It's 4, like that. It does also allow a turn in a move step, so I don't really want to crash into my friendly ships, do I? So what I'm going to do, let's put it out like that, and angle her ever so slightly like that. There we go. So it's just a bit of extra positioning before the game starts. So now we have to roll for our wind. So, and 1 is blowing from the west, so the wind's over there. That line there across would be the low high activated, followed by a Hammerfist. Then both of the ordnance boats moving across. We've got probably the Panther, 2 of the Hammerfists, the big Abbas, and another Hammerfist. So let's start with our low high. Okay, so at speed 2, we're going to move our low high forward 5. First of all, I'm not going to shoot at that step, I'm going to turn slightly. And I'm going to go second move step forward 5. And I'm hoping that that will put me in range of some of the Orcs. So I'm going to measure up the range. I've got a light gun on the front of 14, so it's in range, it's in arc. I'm going to have a pop at that Bloodrunner. So 1 red dice, normally would be 6s, but overturning 7s to hit. It's a miss. Okay, so up to the first Hammerfist. So let's see if we can cause some damage. Okay, so 4 to 5 first. I'm not going to fire at that arc, but I am going to turn slightly. I'm going to go forward 5 again for my second move step. And see about causing some damage to the big boy. I've got a light gun on the front, 14, so it's well within range. Let's see if we can do any damage. Same again here, so we'd normally be hitting on 6, 7s for range. And it's a miss. So our lovely little gun brig is next, and I'm actually going to slow down. So I'm going to go down to speed 1 with the gun brig, move into position and see if we can't find some indirect shots. And go 4 straight forward. Okay, so our gun brig has got an indirect weapon which is a 22-inch range, so I'm actually going to try and drop it on top of the Orc Bloodrunner at the back. Indirect weapons are green dice, 6 is to hit, it's -2 for being an indirect weapon. There's no other range modifiers though, because otherwise it'd be impossible. So on an 8 we score a hit. That's a 1. So yeah, I need some new gunners, I think, don't I? Now our bomb boat is going to do exactly the same thing. It's going to go down to speed 1, and it's only a movement 3 with a yellow turning circle. So I'm going to move 3 and a 10, and I'm going to try and bomb the Basilean gunboat, I think. So let's turn like that. There we go. So we have an indirect shot coming from the the bomb boat, should we say, onto the gun brig. So come on, Orcs, big 8. It's a hit. Fantastic. So yeah, let's see what damage we do. Now indirect weapons are pretty devastating, that's why they're difficult to hit with. They do D6 damage, and as you can see, he's only got 20 points of hull anyway. So let's see what we can do. 2. So we're over to our Panther. It's only got broadside weapons, the Panther, so this might be quite interesting. But let's see if we can get in position and see if we can pop that hammer fist, or at least do some damage to it. So we have to go forward our 5. Turn circle, there we go. Ooh, which way, which way, which way? Let's have a look. Let's go that way. Go forward another 5. Let's just get stuck in, eh, lads? I'm kind of hoping the big abyss will be able to avoid this. Oh. There we go. So, if we look at our broadside, it's partially clipping just. So, let's see if we can do some damage. Okay, so the target is partially visible because it's not fully within the broadside arc, it's just clipping it. So it's blue and a red. And let's have a look. So it's -1 to hit. So that is actually a pretty solid hit. So we have a critical hit and a hit. Okay, so that's pretty solid hit. So it's 1 point of damage for the red, so it just does 1 damage. It's a critical hit there, so that's 2 damage already, and a roll on critical hit table, which is 2d6. So for 7, we are minus structural damage. So the ship takes an additional d3 plus 1 damage. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage to this unfortunate hammer fist. Okay, so we're now over to our blood runner, and yeah, let's see if we can do something funky with him. So he moves 4, so he has to go forward 4 first. Obviously we don't want to run into our own hammer fist, so we're going to turn. See, this is getting a bit ropey now with the actual manoeuvres, isn't it? So we'll then go forward another 4 and see about doing some shooting. Okay, so we will have 1 close range black shot at the front, which is within 8 inches. There's no modifiers on it because it can't be over 10. It's not in point blank range yet, unfortunately, so we are on standard 6s to hit, which we missed. I think the Orcs need some training with shooting, don't they? So we have our second hammer fist. He's going to move forward his 5. Really trying not to bump into his friends. So we're still at movement state speed 2, so I'm going to turn. Now we're going to fire at this step. We have 1 long range gun. I think, to be fair, we're going to move forward another 5. This is getting ropey, isn't it? And we're not going to turn, we're just going to give the Panther a point blank shot from the front. So 1 point blank shot. I'm actually on +2 to hit this time because of the range. So I've hit on a 6 and the damage is doubled up to 2. Okay, it's now the time with speed 2 Abbas, and this is where we find out if Captain Tom has actually managed to not avoid smashing into ourselves. Okay, so we're well then, that's good, it's good, it's good. Going in for a red. Swing it back. So I'm just going to remove the ship and just place it down again, because obviously we know the turning arc. Like that. We're not going to fire at this range. We're going to move forward another 4. We're going to turn again slightly. I'm just going to mark the island. Okay, now I think it's time for them to feel the wrath of a serious broadside. So this is actually going to be pretty brutal, to be fair. So the Abbas has got 3 heavy cannon, 1 long cannon and 2 close cannon for a broadside, and this poor hammer fist is actually all within our 3. Yeah, so let's see what we can do. Okay, so we've got our pool of dice incoming. So obviously the game uses different coloured dice for different weapon options and types because they do different damage. We're going to roll them, and I'm actually on +2 to hit here because of the range. So we're hitting on 4s, and that's a pretty solid hit. Let's get rid of that miss. I do have a master gunner, but I'm not going to use that because that's a pretty horrific hit anyway. And just so we know what we're doing, we've got red dice do 1 damage each for a total of 2. It's 2 damage each for a blue dice for a total of another 6, total of 8, and then 3 for this black dice, which is the heavy cannon or the close quarter cannon, for a total of 11. However, because we are within 3 inches and point blank, I'm doubling that to 22 damage. Absolutely devastating hit there. However, I still have a front gun, so I'm going to also have a pop at that ship over there. So 1 heavy cannon out the front. It's a -1 to hit for the range. Hit on a 7. We've critted him. Critical hit on this poor chap is a 7. So it's a minor structural damage. He takes an extra D3 plus 1 damage. So 2, 3, and then for the hit itself, an extra 2. So 5 damage to that hammer fist over there. I'm thinking, yeah, Basileans are pretty brutal when they start broadsiding, aren't they? Okay, so that hammer fist is going to have to do something about this, aren't they? Okay, so I'm going to attempt to get right in the middle and try and do some damage. So we have a 5-inch movement, which we have to go straight forward. So I'll measure it 1 to 6, guys, just so that we know. So now I'm going to have to turn pretty accurately here, I think. Okay, so I'm going to go down like that first of all, and then we're also going to do another 5-inch move forward, so which puts us there. Okay, so at this point we're going to both open up with some weaponry, and then we're also going to try board in action, because why not, eh? So we'll have front weapons at this boy, broadsides at the abyss, and then we're going to try and board the abyss. So shooting at the abyss, we've got 2 close and 2 long. It's partially in the field of fire, so it's -1 to hit, but it is within 3. So let's see what we can do. Okay, so we've got 2 hits, 2 misses, for a total of 8 damage because of the range, barely a scratch, eh? And we have 1 light gun, or long range gun should we say, out the front into the Panther. So it's standard hit on this one. It's not over 10, but it's not within 3. Hitting on 6, which we've hit, does 1 point of damage. Okay, so within 3 we're going to try and board the abyss. This might not go well, but hey ho, we are orcs. So it's a skill test. Normally it would be a 5 up, but I have got grappling hooks to make it a 4 up. What a fail. So there we go. So at the end of turn 1 we've sort of tickled each other, haven't we? Bit of damage back and forth. One of the hammerfish took a bit of a severe hurting. So now we see where the wind goes. So at the start of the next turn, rolling on the dice, guys, on the table. So a 6 is no change, so that is going to change our activation order. Wind is still coming from that side there, so it's going to be a bit of artillery first, I think. Which one do we say? Probably the Orcs and the Basileans, and then we're going to move across like this. The abyss is actually last. Okay, so 10-2. I've done some measuring, and it's actually the gunbrig first. So what the gunbrig's going to do, he's going to drop the anchor, Captain. So he's going to go to anchored. It allows 1 turn, but no movement. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cheekily turn like that, just so his arc's a bit better. And then he's going to take a pot shot. Now, indirect weapons can scatter, and we didn't do that on the first shot because there was nothing else for them to hit. However, this is quite a tempting cluster of orcs. So I'm actually going to try and shoot that blood runner. Okay, so it's an indirect weapon again, guys. It's a green dice. It's -2, hitting on an 8, but because I'm anchored, I get +1, so I'm hitting on a 7. So I've missed, and the shot is now going this way. So we roll a d6. Scoring 2, and we add 2 to that roll. from the centre of the target ship means that it lands there. If that had landed on another ship, we'd then apply the damage to it, friend or foe, so you know, worth a pop. Next ship to activate is the bomb boat, and he's going to drop anchor as well, so he's going to be stationary, and he's going to do pretty much the same thing. He's got a yellow turning arc, so he's just going to turn a little bit like that, and I think that he's actually going to try and bomb the gunboat. Okay, so within range, it's the same again. Let's just get our dice. It's 22 inches, so it's plenty of range. Would normally be hitting on a 6 up to an 8 because it's indirect, down to a 7 because I'm anchored. It's missed, scattering that way, obviously it's not going to hit anything else. Now our low high, unfortunately, is in a situation where it's probably going to collide, so we're going to go down to speed 1 first of all. And it has to go 5 forward, so there's a contact point. Now for a collision, we roll some skill tests. Both ships roll a skill test, so the low high passes and the Orc ship passes. Because I've passed, there is no collision. However, I don't have the movement to make it past that ship, so what I've got to do is turn as much as I can to actually avoid it, and that move step finishes. Okay. However, let's do some shooting. And in that position, the low high, I think he's in a good position to give the pretty wounded hammer fist a bit of a volley, so to speak. It takes me down to Graham anchored now as well, because I lose 1 speed for actually having a collision, which isn't amazing, but there you go. So let's just do some measurement. Are we going to have a go? We'll actually have a go at the Blood Runner, because that's half in. Okay, so let's see what we can do. Okay, so giving it a good volley. So we're looking for 6s at this range, so those 2 miss. Okay, and they both hit. So a close range weapon hitting is 3 damage, 4, 5 for a heavy, and it's doubled up because we are within 3, so that's another 10 damage to the Blood Runner. Okay, our next ship activating is this Hammer Fist. He's going to stay at speed 2, and he's going to move forward his 5, which just stops short of a collision. And he's going to make his turn, which is a red turn, so we sort of just have to, there we go. At that point, he's going to open fire at the Abbess with his broadside. And it's a standard 6 hit because we're not over 10 inches of range. Okay, so both the long range miss, however those both hit, and we've got a critical hit. Critical hit table is a 3, which is the sail or engine critical hit. The ship takes an additional d6 plus 2 damage and reduces its current speed by 1. Okay, so d6 plus 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 damage to the Abbess, and it's now at speed 1. We now get to carry on our second move step. So it's going to avoid that ship just to 5. And we get to make our turn as well, don't we? So let's go like that. Okay, so he's going to have his front guns into the gun brig. So if we look at the card, he's got 1 long range gun. It's within 10, but not within 3. Which hits and does 1 point of damage to the gun brig. Our next ship of activation is the Blood Runner at the back. So what is he going to do? He's going to move forward his 4. Putting him to there. Going to make his turn. Are we going to have a cheeky stern rake? So he doesn't have to turn all the way. Okay, so he's going to go like that. Position as best we can. And then he's going to have a big stern rake through the back of the low eye. Okay, so our Blood Runner has 2 heavy guns. Okay, so it's 2 blue knives. He's in a stern rake position, so he's win 3. Okay, so it's plus 1 to hit, I believe. Yeah, point blank, plus 2 to hit. Okay, so he's on 4s. Okay, so both hit. Now, heavy guns would normally do 2 damage each for a total of 4, but because we're on stern rake position, we actually triple that within 3 inches. So it goes up to 12 damage. Now, the low high has an upgrade called an Aegis Shield. Because he's taken more than 10 damage in one volley, he gets to take D3 off it. So for 3. So he takes 9 damage total. Now our Blood Runner also has the same weaponry at that side, so he's also going to fire point blank at the Panther. Okay, so 2 shots. So he's point blank. So he's hitting on 4s. 1 miss, 1 hit, and we're within 3. So that doubles up to 4 damage on the Panther. However, the Panther can also do a rule called Fire as she bears and fire back. And to do this, we notify the opponent, which is me, that he's fired out of that side, and he gets to shoot back. Now, Fire as she bears is also known as snap fire, which is at -2. So roll our dice. Oh dear. So double one. So he missed. Our Blood Runner is at speed 2, so he gets to continue. Well, has to continue his movement like that. And I don't think he's going to turn because that arc, like such. There you go. Actually puts him in range of the gun brig, which he's also now going to fire at. It's 1 close dice within 8, so no modifiers here. Let's see what happens. Okay, so he is actually hit on a 6. And in fact, it would be a 5 because this bow is stationary. Okay, so that's a hit. It's not within point blank, but it's 3 damage to the gun brig. Our next ship to activate is our Panther, and this is not looking good, eh? At speed 2, he's going to have to go forward, and he's going to collide with the Hammer Fist. However, he does get through roll of skill test to see if we get away with it. So +1. No, he's failed. So do the Orcs avoid? They do. Now, because the Orcs avoid, the ship actually gets to continue its movement to pass it, and it had enough to do that, and it's going to have to just go like that. Now, it's not going to really affect the Orcs because they've already fired out of that side, but we are at speed 2, so the Panther has to move again. It's quite straightforward. And a turn. Okay, so our middle Hammer Fist is going to go down to speed 1. Go forward 5. He's feeling a bit ropey, this one. After taking a massive volley off the abyss. He's going to angle like that, and he's going to give a good stern rake to the aloha. So, too close, too long. I'm actually hitting on 5s here because the aloha is not moving. It's an additional +1 to hit. So we'll be 6s, and I'm also at point blank, so I'm actually hitting on 3s. There we go, so a good solid hit again. Okay, so totaling up the damage, 1, 2, up to 5 to 8, so 3 each. However, within 3 and a stern rake, we're tripling that to 24 damage, which is absolutely brutal. So the Aloha's Aegis Shield takes D3 off that. So it takes 3, but it still takes 21 points of damage. So this poor Aloha now is at a total of 30 damage. Its nerve value is 27, so it's now crippled, which affects what it can do in the game. It's at half firepower, so on and so forth. But the Orcs, because they're within 3, are actually now going to try and board. So it's a skill test of 5+, 4+, because I have grappling hook, and I've failed again. Okay, so it's over to the final Hammer Fist. It's gone down to speed 1, so he's going to move 5, angle ever so slightly like that. And he's going to fire broadsides into the abyss, and also broadsides into the poor Aloha over there. Now, into the Aloha, we're not within 3, and we're not raking the ship because of the way the angles out of the corridor, so to speak. So let's see what we do. We're on 6s to hit, down to 5s because the Aloha is stationary, and that's another solid hit. Look, so we've missed with 1 there, so it's 1, 2, 5 points of damage, leaving the poor Aloha on 1 hit point left. So let's have a shot into the abyss. Now, if we look at the angle down at the bottom there, the abyss isn't fully in that corridor, so it's partially obscured. So it's going to be the same dice again, guys. 6s normally, but we're at -1 to 7s because of partial obscurity. But because we're clearly within 3, we go to 5s. Okay, so, oh dear, 3 misses, 1 critical hit. So that's 3 damage, doubled up to 6 because of the range, and a roll on the critical hit table. Which is a 7, which on the critical hit table is an additional d3 plus 1 damage. So it's 6, 7, 8 damage to the Abyss. And although the Abyss is now at 30 hit points, it still has a nerve value of 55 and a structure point of 74. It's a big boy, and it's now the Abyss's turn. So I think we'll start by moving that 4 forward, which is what we have to do, basically, like that. And we're going to turn. So we're only at speed 1, so it's not a great deal more we can do. Oh, that one. There we go. So, if you look at the angles there, it's not amazing, is it? So there's nothing in that broadside arc, unfortunately, and the Abyss does have a rear gun, however, which again is going to be out of arc. So, I think the Abyss's activation there is over. So a brutal turn 2 really shows you what these ships can do to each other when they sort of pass each other and give each other a good volley. So wind direction for the next turn is a 7, which is no change. So I think we're going to be both of the artillery boats first, and then it's going to be our Blood Runner over to the low high, which is not doing well. Then the entirety of the Orc fleet, and then the 2 big ships at the back. Okay, so measuring up the activations is actually the bomb boat to go first. It's anchored, but it does allow me a turn. So I think that the bomb boat needs to try and deal with this Abyss. So it's going to turn like that and try and drop a shell onto the Abyss. So we're at green again. So we're stationary, so we are at +1 to hit, but -2. So all in all it's 7s. And we miss. We're travelling that direction. Now, regardless of what I roll in D6, guys, it's not going to hit anything from there. So that's the bomb boat activated. We're now looking a bit ropey here as an entire Orc fleet approaches this little gun brig. But it's its activation first. So it's going to turn ever so slightly. And it's going to try and drop a shell right in the middle of this pack of Orcs on the heavily damaged Hammer Fist. So same again, we're stationary. So we're hitting on a 7. And we've actually scored a direct hit, causing D6 damage for 2. And unfortunately, that takes us up to 24 damage on the Hammer Fist. It's not enough to nerve it in any way. It's now time for the Blood Runner's activation. He's going to drop down to speed 1 and move his 4 forward. And he's going to use his turning arc to bring the guns to bear, so to speak. So let's use this red turning arc, and it also gets him out of the way of all of his friends that are probably going to run into him. So let's go like that. Okay, so time for a bit of shooting. So he has 2 heavy guns. Ooh, there we go. And I know that looks like a lot, but it's actually just within 3. So we're at a stationary target. So it's 6's got a 5s to hit. And then it's +2 because we're within 3 just. Okay, so we're actually on 3s to hit. So we've got 2 solid hits there, and the damage is doubled. So it's 2, 4, double to 8 on the poor gun brig. And that shot took the gun brig to 14 damage, which is only 1 above its nerves. So that is, yeah, it's looking a bit ropey for that poor gun brig now, isn't it? So next activation is our crippled low high. Now it can't really do a great deal. It can't move more than battle speed, but it will go to speed 1 and try and go and deal with this, and more importantly get out of range of that. And he's going to actually elect to make a repair action, which he can, if it foregoes his shooting, but he's so damaged it's not going to make a massive difference. Basically it's a D6 and I take that much damage off, so I remove 4 from him, which now takes him to 26 damage, and he's going to make his move. And correcting that, he's actually remains on 31 damage, so he was so badly damaged. He's in real ropey position, isn't he? So let's just move him forward 5, leave him like that, try and get some distance between him and the pack. we're now down to our hammer fist here. Now, Orcs love nothing better than ramming, so he's actually just going to continue to power forward and he's going to ram straight into this gun break. Now, the Orc special rule of ram means that the Orcs automatically fail their evade test there. They want to hit it, but the gun break gets to try and evade, which it fails. So for a ram, it's really easy. Both sides start with a D10, which inflicts D10 damage. The hammer fist is one size bigger than the gun break, so it gets an extra dice. The hammer fist also has ram 2, so it rolls 2 dice and adds 2 to that. So 8, 9, 10, 11. So it does 11 damage to the gun break, and the gun break in turn does 6 to the hammer fist. And that 11 damage to our poor gun break, you can imagine it swelling around. There's planks everywhere, so on and so forth. It just annihilates the ship. So it already had 14 damage on it, taking it to 25. It's 5 above his structure points. That is a good proper sinking. And our hammer fist activation ends there. Second middle hammer fist now gets to activate. Let's see what he can do. Okay, so he's actually going to drop his anchor and go down from speed 1 to stationary. And he's going to try and see to the little end of the ship that we see there. So let's see if we can get another raking fire in and finally sink this aloha. So the close range weapons are in range as well at 8. So we are sort of 4 dice. It's a raking fire again. It's not close range, but let's see what happens. So I'm stationary, so it would normally be 6s down to 5s. Let's see what we get. Okay, so the heavy hitters have missed, but we have got 2 hits there. Totaling 1, 2, double because it's a stern rake over 3 inches away. So it's a total of 4 damage to that very, very worried aloha. Leaving him on 1 point, I think it's time that we try and finish him off. So it's now activations for this hammer fist, and he's going to move this time, okay? So he's going to try and get into a better position. At speed 1, he gets to move 5 forward. And we're going to have to turn, because otherwise we're going to start going off the board, I think. Orcs love a good fight. Let's turn it like that. And we'll stay as we are there. So he does actually get to have a shot. It's only going to be his long ranges that are in. The aloha's partially into it. It's an additional -1, and it's also, I believe, going to be over 10, but we'd better measure that. Within 10, hitting on 7s. And a critical hit. Rolling a critical hit table for a 5 means that we have major structural damage, takes an additional d6 plus 2 damage. So it's 7 off that hit, and then it's also 1 for the hit, so it's 8 damage total. Now the aloha has the ability to take d3 off that. 3, taking 5 damage, but unfortunately I still think that sinks it. Taking the aloha to 40 damage total, 5 over its structure points, that's another sinking. So the Orcs are starting to mop up, aren't they? What can the Abbas do now? Okay, so the Abbas needs to do something. It's a speed 1, so she has to move forward 4. And we're going to turn her in using turning arc. Come on. Let's pull on back, there we go. Okay. Okay, so at this point, I think she's actually got a stern rake on this ship, which is what she's going to fire with her broadsides, and she's going to open up with her front cannons at the gunboat. Now, this could prove quite devastating, as this is already a damaged hammer fist. So within 8, okay, so we're not over 10. Now, what that means is the Abbas is actually hitting this flat on 6s, and he's got a lot of dice. Now, I think it's time to pop the Master Gunner upgrade there. So once per game, I can reroll misses because I'm only hit once. Wow, that's a bit better, isn't it? Okay, so let's have a look what we've got. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage, triple to 21 damage because it's a stern rake. Apologies. 14 damage because we're over 3 away. And also a critical hit. So let's see what we've done critical hit wise on the hammer fist for a 9. So we're on 14 damage already. It takes a major structural damage, which is another d6 plus 2. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 damage on that poor hammer fist. Taking it to 42 damage, its structure is 38, sinking it, and that amazingly just annihilates it. The Abbess just destroyed it, volleyed it off the board. Now let's see what we can do to the bomb-boat. She has one heavy gun at the front, it's within 8 inches, and also the bomb-boat is stationary, so it would be 6s, 5s to hit. Missed. Never mind, I think we've done well for the Abbess already, this one. So last boat to activate is the Gear Panther. Now the Gear Panther is a bit out positioned here, so it's gone down to speed 1, and it's looking a little bit ropey this, so it's going straight to the board. It's going to turn. The thought here, guys, is that I can anchor this ship next turn and remain stationary. So let's turn him like that. And I don't believe that we're actually in range of anything there with our weaponry. If we have a look, no. So that is the end of turn 3. Let's roll for the wind for turn 4. For a 3, it moves 1 step clockwise, okay, which actually means it's going to go over there, which changes our activation completely. So our bomb boat's going to go, then I believe it'll actually be the Gear Panther, then this chap down here, this Blood Runner, and then the Abbess, and then the Orcs down here. So let's see what happens. Okay, so for the top of turn 4, there's something quite interesting to note here. Obviously the wind's changed direction, so our bomb boat's going to go first, then probably this Blood Runner, and then it's going to be the Basileans. Now, the distance here, Orc shooting, for people that might have noticed, they don't have much heavy, which is the longer range weaponry. Only the Blood Runner really has got that. The rest of it's all within sort of like that 14-inch light weapon bracket. So it's quite an interesting conundrum. That bomb boat, for example, I think he's going to decide that discretion is a better part of valour and go up to speed 1 and try and get out of there. But unfortunately, he only does move 3. So he's going to go like that, and he's going to turn in using his yellow turn arc, which is not amazing. But he does actually have some weapons on the side, so let's see if we can actually do something. So he has 3 close weapons. Which, if we have a look at the broadside arcs, will just be clipping the Abbess. So 3 close weapons, 8-inch range, it's in range. It's not point blank, but it is going to be -1 because we've not got a full sort of visibility to the Abbess. And we've hit once, doing 3 points of damage. We're now down to our Blood Runner, which is pretty far out of the battle now. So his movement is speed 1, so he has to go to speed 1. I'm not going to speed up. He only moves 4, so he's more of a blood shuffler, isn't he? He's going to go like that, and then he's going to turn his red. I don't believe these Orc ships are going to perform a great deal more in this battle, but they're not going to die, hopefully, so there you go. Next one, we've got our Gear Panther at the top. Now our Gear Panther's going to drop anchor so it doesn't move, and it's going to angle ever so slightly just to get the broadside in on the bomb boat. And we've got 1 heavy and 1 light within 10, hitting the bomb boat on a 6. So we've actually hit him and crippled him, or critted him should we say. So it's 2, 3 damage so far, and we're all on the critical hit table, which is a 6. So he takes an additional D3 plus 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5 damage. We're now over to our Abbess, which I think is going to try and sink this, so let's see what we can do. And we've got 1 heavy and 1 light within 10, hitting the bomb boat on a 6. So we've actually hit him and crippled him, or critted him should we say. So it's 2, 3 damage so far, and we're all on the critical hit table, which is a 6. So he takes an additional D3 plus 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5 damage. We're now over to our Abbess, which I think is going to try and sink this, so let's see what we can do. Moving forward 4, and then turning in. It's the last turn of the game, so normally you wouldn't obviously be going off the board. Now that's a broadside right there. Okay, so we're not within 3, but we are well within range of all the weaponry, so let's see what we can do. Normally, hitting on 6s. Still hitting on 6s. Come on, Abbess. Okay, so that's a miss. Miss. That was a 7. And that's a miss. So let's see what damage we've done. Okay, so 1, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. Crippling the bomber, so he's now at 13 damage, which didn't quite destroy him, but it's a good hit nonetheless, and all counts towards victory points. Next ships to activate are the Orcs down here. This one, first of all, he's stationary, so all he's going to do is just turn like that. And then the other Blood Runner, the other Hammerfish, should we say, has to move its full distance. So I'll do 2 to 7 on that one. Turn him like that. We will measure. Actually, his broadside's out in that arc anyway. So with that, that is the end of turn 4. So now, let's see who's won. Okay, to total up the points, it's really, really easy. We total up, first off, destroyed ships, and it's their cost as per your army list. So 16 points there. Now this guy is worth 33 because he's got an Aegis shield, so that's 33. 49 points, and then any ships that are crippled, which we do by that value. So nothing for the Panther, and unsurprisingly, nothing for the Abyss. So the Orcs again, 33, 49 points. And to work out the Basilean score, so same again. Let's look for that. So nothing for that Hammerfist because it only had 5 damage. So we remove that. That Hammerfist has taken 26. It's not quite enough to nerve it, so nothing for that one either. The Blood Runner's taken 10, so nothing for that. However, we have a crippled Bombboat, which is worth half his points for 9. And a destroyed Hammerfist, which with upgrades is 37. Bringing the Basilean total score to 45. And there we have it, so 49 points to the Orcs, to 45 to the Basileans. Now that actually is a draw in the game, so if you're playing 150 points like we were, you need to have a clear 15-point difference in your victory points. So that's that, that's a 4-turn game of Armada. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll be trying to hunt a Kraken next time, so stay tuned for that. As always, stay safe, stay well, and happy hobbying.